So this video is going to be looking at the areas of formatting and paste special at a more intermediate level. We're looking at split and the freeze pane features, text to columns, some conditional formatting, and then how to use this paste special so that you don't have to use a formula all the time to do things. So I hope you enjoy.
Let's bring the book up so you can see it properly. You can see there's a number of tabs across the bottom of this workbook. Let's make sure that we're in the first workbook, and I'm just going to bring it down a little bit just so you can see the screen. So what we have here is one of the first parts of the syllabus that you will need to understand. And if I just scroll over, it's always got, on each of the workbooks and spreadsheets that we use, it's got a bit of information that ties back to the syllabus and the manual. And it explains a few things because I don't spend a lot of time getting into it. But basically, a split in a spreadsheet is a way of you seeing a lot more information if you've got very large spreadsheets and you need to see different areas of it at the same time. You can use this split. If you go into the View tab at the top, you've got the split feature just here. And as it says, it divides the window into different panes that each scroll separately. So if we've got a split, as you can see, if I hover on the split, just come over, let's bring it up a little bit. And you can see that if I click there, you can see that double arrow feature there on the cursor changing. If you double click, that will remove the split. And here's another one, double click, and that removes the split. Remember though, in the exam, when you're taking the exam, this is a nice simple question, so you tend to just rush forward and do things. In the exam, they may ask you to do a removal of a horizontal split or a vertical split only. And if you remove the wrong one, then you're going to find that you can't undo a split in the exam. So be really careful. Try and focus if you can see where the split is actually happening in the exam. For example, if I click on F5 and then I do the split, there, you can see that it's got two splits, and I would make sure that if I was doing the horizontal split removal, I would just remove it like that. And that way you still got this split going on in a vertical sense. So split's quite easy, just be aware of it. Just to cover another little area called freeze panes, for those of you who may not be aware of it. If I take the split off completely on this spreadsheet, and we look at the area rows at the top of the spreadsheet, let's say we wanted to freeze all rows above 4. So 1, 2, and 3 would stay static when we scrolled up and down, so we'll be able to see the information across the top. So if I click on row 4, and below where I'm going to freeze, and then in the View tab again, you have freeze, and you've got a freeze top row, which some of you may have used in previous ECL qualifications. But in advanced, you might be freezing where you want to freeze. So using the freeze pane, as you will see now, will freeze anything above row 4. And then unfreeze. If you wanted to freeze the first column or the first two columns, A and B, if you highlight the third column C and then freeze, you will freeze that way. If you wanted to freeze above 4 and the first two columns, then you need to go into the intersecting cell. So you're on row 4 and you're in column C. And if you freeze then, you will freeze both of those areas and then unfreeze. So that's the freeze option and the split options in the syllabus that we've covered. Okay, so we've gone to the text to columns tab, the next one, and this covers this area in the syllabus, and it's using the feature in the data tab. We'll find a lot of features in there that we're going to be using. And it's the feature called text to columns. So let's just click on it and hover on it so you can see it. So what we've got here is we've got a single set of data, two lots of data in one cell. So what this feature does is it actually, as it brings up a wizard as it's just done, it will then split that data into separate data cells, which is obviously good practice because you want to do any sorting or filtering. It's really difficult to work with this one set of data. So what we're going to do is we'll delete one I did earlier, so we're ready. And what we need to do is separate, as it was, these names into these two ranges. Okay, so we're going to highlight the A5 to the A12. Use the feature, click it on like I did earlier, and you can see that wizard coming up. There's the data we're using. It is delimited. Next. It needs a space, so sometimes it might have something like that, or a semicolon, other. And the thing is, if you take the other off and I put the space on, you can see that it actually works because it has separated that into two separate cells. And you can see that the data does have a space. If you're in the exam, it would let you know what to use. Okay, so don't worry too much about that. But in the real world, you know there's a space. Go to next. And then you need to say where the destination is. So if you pull that over, you can expand that. And then you can click on the first one where you want the destination to be. And you can see there that it's B5. And it comes up with this little $signed area here. If we finish, then you can see that it automatically puts that data where we asked it. And that feature is the text to columns. You can try this yourself. I've done one here. Be aware that in the exam there could be a gap, or it could be a sort of a range further away than you're expecting. So just be aware that when you put your destination in, that you make sure it's in the right place. I'll leave that for you to have a go in the actual lecture slides. The next syllabus feature we're going to look at is the conditional formatting, which is on the Home tab, and it's just a feature here. So the good thing about conditional formatting is it highlights things in a particular way so that it draws your attention to the areas that you want. So the way that it's used in the exam is if we go into the conditional formatting, there are these options here, and they're absolutely fine. But what we tend to do in the exam is we look at the new rule area, which gives you more options. And I'll take you through an example first, and you can see what I'm talking about. So here, format the cells that only contain less than or equal to 19,000. So if we were going to do this, it's at the bottom here. I've got it written down for you. So if we're going to pick up B4 to M4, make sure that in the exam you don't go over into other cell areas that they don't want you to use. Then if we go to the feature conditional formatting, and into the new rule, they always in the exam in this syllabus use the format only cells that contain. So that's something you can be quite sure of. Then you've got the options of, as it says, between, not between, equal, etc., etc. And in this case, we're using less than or equal to. So we're going to use the less than or equal to. We're going to pop in the figure 19000. Make sure in the exam your number lock's on and you don't jump all over the place as it does. And then what we do is we need to format it to follow this. So you've got light blue cell shading. So if we go into the format area, it automatically by default comes up on the font tab. And what you've got to be aware of is when you can't go into it, people tend to just jump to the colour. That's what they see, because we're doing a shading colour, aren't we, of light blue. Make sure that if it's not including any of these areas here for the font, you go to the fill tab. And it's in the fill tab that you can find your light blue. They won't ask for a particular colour, just a light or a dark. If you've got colour blindness in the exam, then obviously if you're not totally sure about a blue, you can call an invigilator, pop your hand up, and if you indicate what you see is blue, if that's what's in the question, you could get a quick nod and that's all that you need. Okay, so we're going to OK on that. So the next thing we're going to do is we're going to do the other one. So we OK that through, we click away, and you can see that those conditions that were met have been highlighted in light blue. So let's do another one together, B10 to M10, once again not including totals or anything else it doesn't want. Back into the conditional formatting, new rule. This time we're looking for greater than and equal to 9,000, so back to format cells that contain. Greater than or equal to, pop in 9,000 into the format area, and we're already on the fill because of earlier, and we can find a light grey cell shading, OK it through, and then you can see that that one's worked. However, in the exam, you will normally get something that where you apply it to the same data. So let's highlight these cells into conditional formatting, and let's clear all the rules from selected cells. So those conditional formatting rules have all gone. Let's move up into the spreadsheet. We're just going to bring this up so that we can work on the B4. Bear with me, and you can still see what we're doing. So here we're going to be working on the B4 to the M4 like we did previously. But we're going to do two lots, and we have to do it twice. We can't do it all in one go. So we're popping into conditional formatting again, new rules. Formatting cells that contain only those cells. We're going to use a less than and equal to right at the bottom. I'm going to use the figure 1930. Okay, I'm going to pop in a light blue shading. Okay. And then we're going to do the same cells that are already, once we OK, they're already highlighted. So go back in, next rule, rules that contain, and then we're going to use the greater than, and we're going to use a 2-3 zeros, format it into a light grey, OK, OK it through, click away, and you can see that that has occurred. Okay, so if you're not sure about conditional formatting, have a go. Most people have used it by now, but it's a great little tool in the syllabus. The next area is nice and simple, just table style. So if you click on a table, you can see that this tool tab, Table Tools, Design tab, appears. Click off the table, it disappears. So that's what you're looking for. And then you've got your designs. So we're clicking the table, drop this down, and you can see that they do them in light, medium, and dark. So depending on what it is that they're asking you to apply, you will have to hover across depending on what the name is. And you can see, let's look at a medium table style, medium 1, 2, 3. So you get an idea of how they work. So you're just going to apply, answer the question, and that's that done. It's that simple. Okay, the next area in the syllabus is the PACE special. So this question tends to throw people a little bit because it comes up in the exam and it's talking about replacing formula in cells in a particular range, for example, this range here, with values only. So if we click on here, you can see that there is formula in there. It's a great feature if you receive a spreadsheet with a large amount of formula in it and you wanted to start something from scratch yourself, then you could do quite easily place all the formula in the workbook or the spreadsheet and start from scratch with your own ideas. Otherwise, you can get wrapped up in formula and not able to work with it properly. So let's do the exercise. So we've got B4 to M4. We're going to copy it. Go to the Paste Special drop-down in the top left-hand corner. Instead of using some of the quick icons, we're going to use this Paste Special right at the very end. And with this, we can actually see the whole picture, if you like. We can see the sorts of things you can do with Paste Special, as I've written on here, on the spreadsheet there for revision. And you can see that we can replace with values here. So if we click on the values and we OK, then now what you can see is we escape, you can see that they now have values in there and not formula. Another little one we could do, just to get an experience, is if we highlight the A2 to A16, we can sometimes copy formula using the paste special rather than the format painter. It depends on the area of work you're working on. So if we copy this and we go to the area we're going to apply it first, let's say right just up to all the way across, and then we paste special and click on format, so we're formatting it the same, and OK, and then you can see that it's took along not only the colouring, the cell shading, but also the border, etc. So it's a little quick look at the different types of paste special, but we're going to look at them in a lot more detail. Okay, so as I've done before in the previous video, we're going to go through the different features that you can use in paste special, and this is something that the exam covers. I'll just bring it down. You can see that I always, as I've said before, if you've watched the previous video, I always put in some bits and bobs there just to help remind you for revision purposes and other things on the spreadsheet. Okay, and this is just a picture, if you like, just to help to bring it home. So as we did before, I'm going to use the add. So let's look at the add. The way that the questions can be sometimes come across in the exam is they use things like use built-in commands, or if we look at the next one, the multiply, use B2, multiply that range without using a formula or functions. That's the sort of language that they tend to use when we use these. So be aware of that, that you're not going to be using a function or a formula to do something. It's going to be a paste special. So in this one, we've got an add. The first thing they do is we want to add B2 to B4 to M4. You copy the cell that you're going to use. You highlight the range that you're going to apply it to, and then you do the job. So you drop down paste special, into paste special main window, click on the operation that you wish to use, the add, OK, and you can see that it's worked. To take the hash off, just use the escape key, and that stops flashing. Okay, let's do another one. Multiply. Once again, I'm using exactly the same cell range to get you into the method. I'm going to copy the one we're using to do the multiply. We're going to highlight the area we are going to apply the multiply to, and then we're going to go on and do the job. Click on the multiply operation there, OK, and then you can see that it's done its job. Divide, same thing. I'm sure you've got the message by now. It is pretty straightforward, but it's just about understanding what the question's after and using the right thing. Okay, transpose one, a little bit different. You probably saw the paste special when we brought it up. There's a transpose option just here. So this feature is a great little feature because sometimes, I mean, years ago, I would have maybe done a range, if you like, to prep for a graph or a chart. And then I've realised that I've not really set it out very well, and it needs to be done in a different direction. And sometimes when you do things in columns instead of rows, it doesn't always work. So we're going to transpose this data from a vertical way to a horizontal way. So we copy the range first, place the cursor where you wish to transpose it to, in this case it's A20, and then go in and use the transpose feature. Okay, it's only in bright yellow just so it shows you what's going on. So transposing, really useful in the real world and also part of the syllabus. So I'm going to close this workbook down now. I'm not going to save because I use it as demonstration.